Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your boy JD6 here. I'm with my man. Shout out to KC Sports Authority. Make sure y'all go check that podcast out, man.
You heard the man. What is up, everyone? It is officially March Madness here across all of college basketball, and it is time to talk the NCAA tournament. The field is set. The brackets have been revealed. We want to go over it. Of course, also talk about KU's path to a Final Four, give you all of our reactions. More of that stuff will come later in the week. But before we get into anything, we've got some news to announce. We want to shout out a brand new first-time sponsor of the podcast. That is Churchill's Cigar Lounge of Topeka, Kansas. They are one of the best old-school tobacco-style lounges in the area with over 50 years experience in the premium tobacco industry. A great environment, a relaxed setting. They've got multiple lounges in there, TVs to go check out the big games for the next few weeks. So if you're a cigar aficionado and you want to smoke a cigar while watching basketball, that is the place to go check out. Again, over in Topeka, Kansas. Great place to sit down and meet so many interesting guys, sit down, have conversations, get lost in time. Go see Gary, one of the owners over there. He loves to just sit there and tell stories all day outside. Great environment. So super pumped to have them on board with us. Churchill Cigar Lounge over in Topeka, Kansas. Other thing I want to mention to you about them, they've got a lot of great stuff going on, so bear with me for a second here. You can go try many of their in-house blends. Eagle Maduro, made for them exclusively by Rocky Patel. 50 Club San Andreas Maduro Puro, made exclusively for them in Mexico. All veterans, first responders, and clergy get 10% discounts when you shop there. So again, if that is you, why not go check them out, because you're going to get a discount. But the other thing I want to mention about them is they have an exciting event coming up here for all of you cigar smokers and cigar aficionados. The Churchill Spring Smoker event, May 18th, 2024. That is Saturday, coming up here in about 6 to 8 weeks. This is a great chance to come out, check them out if you haven't been there already. $100 ticket gets you access in at 12 o'clock. This is an event from 12 to 5. It includes 10 cigars at a value of $140 total. So you're already saving $40 there if you buy this ticket. One meal ticket to one of the food trucks of choice. There will be multiple food trucks out there, as well as 2 drink tickets to some of their beer vendors that'll be out there. What you can look forward to seeing, they will have some of the top cigar leaders in the industry from multiple brands that they carry here at this event. So go check them out. Live music, food trucks, local breweries, hourly raffles, and grand prizes every hour all day long. Again, sit down and meet with some of the top guys in the industry when it comes to cigars. Learn about some of the great products they carry, as well as some of the new stuff that's coming out. And they'll also have a bunch of great discounts and promotions going on throughout the day with a lot of their vendors. And just to name a couple of them here, Rocky Patel, Espinoza, Christoph, Drew Estate, La Aurora, if you're familiar with, has the Carl Malone featured cigar with La Aurora, Ashton, amongst many others. Here's kind of a breakdown of that. You'll be seeing us post about them over the next few weeks. They are going to be our official sponsor during the NCAA tournament run. So again, check them out. And here's what you can do when you want to go to this event. There's a couple things you can do. You can either go visit them on site over in Topeka. That's, again, Churchill Cigar Lounge in Topeka, Kansas. You can also give them a call here, and if my technology will work, which it is not, I'll get this thrown up here in a second. But yeah, Churchill Cigars, super grateful that they are going to be hopping on here with us. I'll get that posted here in a minute. I'll get you guys their phone number. It is not loading for me, but it'll also be in the comment section. So again, shout out Churchill. So excited to be joined by them for the next couple of weeks, hoping that we can do some fun stuff with them. So if you do want to go to that event, like I said, you can check them out. They're also on Facebook. You can give them a call. Mention KCSA Pod when you do at the time of your purchase ticket, and have a good time. Next thing, we got more to get into before we break down the challenge. We've got our bracket challenge, of course, which is free. It is live right now on NCAA.com site through their official bracket challenge. One winner this year. The first place prize gets a $100 gift card to Rally House so that you can buy the merch of the team you choose to represent. Obviously, a lot of us here are KU fans, Chiefs fans, Royals fans, so hopefully that's what you spend it on. But if you're not, you've got plenty of other ways you can spend it. So you can sign up for that. The links are everywhere on all of our socials. It'll be posted below in this video. And then in addition to that, we will be doing weekend giveaways for the next 3 weekends of March Madness on all of our social accounts. So if you aren't make sure you are following us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at KCSA Pod so you can take advantage of those. And yes, our sponsor Churchill's will be having some items in there. So again, if you're a cigar aficionado and love to smoke a cigar and anything related to that, go check us out. Stay tuned for some of those things coming down this week. But again, free bracket challenge, $100 to the winner, Rally House gift card, free to sign up and play. All the details will be posted below, as well as all of our social media accounts. Okay. I think that covers everything. Now let's get into the fun of this episode, which of course, like we said, we want to talk March Madness because the brackets have officially been released. We're going to get into everything, not just KU specific where they stand, but kind of recap the brackets as a whole. But fellas, I am pumped. I have already figured out, as depressing as the end of the season was for Kansas, I am already finding myself talking into a deep run for KU as we do almost every year, regardless of the team. So I'm already ready for that, but I'm also prepared to have my heart ripped out and be defeated early and down. Looking forward to filling out my bracket, of course, this year, as I always am. But I am also ready to have my heart ripped out day one when my bracket is busted in the first 4 hours by some ridiculous team that's going to upset everybody and just surprise us all. So we're going to get into that because there's a bunch of surprise teams. So in this, we're not going to go dive into all of the games themselves. We're just kind of going to go through an overview, talk some of the highlights, go through some of the easiest paths to the Final Four, look at KU's bracket specifically, and then later in the week, we will have a more in-depth preview of the game. But fellas, KU gets the 4 seed.
I told y'all.
Not really surprised there. I think I said this a few weeks back that I thought the 3 or 4 seed was the best case scenario as far as path. But they are the 4 seed of the Midwest. But as a whole, I was going to try and get it up here if, again, technology will work for me. Hang tight 2 seconds. Share screen. There we go. We got the bracket up here. Lots of information on there, but we got UConn, the number 1 overall seed. No surprise there in the East. I think if Houston would have won the Big 12 championship, they probably would have kept it. But they are the number 1 seed in the East. Houston, the 1 seed in the South. Purdue, the 1 seed in the Midwest, which of course is our bracket for Kansas. And then North Carolina somehow still keeps the 4th number 1 seed out in the West, despite losing in the ACC tournament. And Iowa State, who won the Big 12 tournament, gets the 2 seed in the first 2 seed instead of the last 4 seed. But there's the bracket at a glance there. Just right off the top, fellas, anything that stood out to you most when going through the bracket reveal today, or any real surprises that you'd noticed?
I've heard a lot of chatter that Kentucky belonged on the 4 line and not the 3, which I don't know. I hate Kentucky and I don't want to give them props, but I think they're deserving of a 3. I think what I was surprised by was everyone saying that they were more on the 4 side than anything. But you see, they've had a better season than Kansas, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people at work this past week were fully expecting Kansas to be on the 5 or 6 line. I'm like, you guys are nuts. This is still Kansas. This is still a program that has beaten UConn, that has beaten Tennessee, that has beaten all these top teams, Houston being one of them. I think our resume at the end of the day spoke for itself. We kept the 4 seed. Bill Self is still the king. I mean, he's never been worse than a 4 seed with Kansas. Like, that's amazing. So I think if anything, I was just kind of surprised really with kind of our bracket and how it's kind of fallen into our favor just slightly. Keegan, you said earlier, you're talking yourself into a path to
already
some success. we have a path. We absolutely have a path. Do I think we will execute? Probably not. but we have a path because who did we avoid? We avoided Houston, obviously. Houston was a big scare. We avoided having to deal with UConn, for one, which I think a lot of people are going to be picking to win this year and go back-to-back, even though back-to-back just doesn't really happen in this tournament. So, man, we avoided some top teams. And our 2 seed is Tennessee, right? And have we not beaten Tennessee already?
We have. They weren't the Tennessee that they are now, despite losing in the SEC tournament. Dalton Connect was not the insane score at that time because that was first week of the season. But
but like we have a path, and I think that's I think every single year KU fans are going into Selection Sunday really excited and hopeful for A, B, and C scenarios, and then we see our draw and we're like, wow, this sucks. And I will say, with a little bit of an asterisk, of course we get Samford, who is more than
the type of team that could shoot us out of the building for sure.
Exactly. So maybe what I'm saying is just like null and void, but like I think overall, like if you get past Samford, we have a decent route, and it's kind of like I was looking at some initial responses on Twitter today, and my favorite thing I gotta find who said this. It was fans of KU that put it out and said like, "Hey guys, how are we feeling?" And the very first reply that I saw on that thread, someone had said, well, we either lose to Samford or we make the Elite Eight. It's one of those two. And I was like, that's so true. I wasn't the only one. There was a lot of people that were like, yes, that's so true. Because if we get past Samford, I mean, what's really standing in our way? A Gonzaga team that we can prove ourselves against, that's had an off year. What else is standing in our way? Tennessee, that we've beaten before, but I don't know, would we even see them in the – it's just like I'm trying to pull up the bracket now and look. I really don't see any team that can really, really scare us. Purdue, that's what it is. Purdue is the favorable 1 seed. I think all season long we've been talking about, whoa, gee, I mean, Hunter Dickinson versus Zach Edey, how would that look? I would be a little bit afraid of it, but Purdue is a lot easier to beat than any other 1 seed because Purdue's themselves every single year. So a little long-winded, but yeah, I'm just surprised by the overall favor that we have in our draw.
Wow. Well, the roles are going to be flipped because I think usually JB is the one, pulling the alarm, and I'm the one that's like, "Hey guys, we can do it."
Are we switching roles here?
We might be.
Back up now.
I think number one, I think the fact that we are concerned by the Samford team is indicative of how the season
13
gone.
seed,
a 13th seed.
Never
I think
talk about that as a KU fan first round.
Yeah, so a lot of it boils down to obviously health. I mean, Self said Dickinson's looking good. He doesn't know what's going on with Kevin. I don't think anyone knows what's going on with Kevin. I don't think the doctors know what's going on with Kevin. So that's just going to be a game time decision, what's probably going to be. But that being said, again, I like the thought of the idea of like, hey, we either lose in the first round or we go to the Final Four. I think that's the kind of year that this could be. I think we can beat any team at any time. I think we've proved it during the season. We beat a UConn team. We beat Houston. We beat Tennessee. We beat these absolutely elite teams. And then we lose to BYU at home. So I think we can lose to every single team out there. So I think this is definitely the largest margin of possibility here of what can happen in this tournament. I do agree that Purdue is a favorable 1 seed. I think if we do play Purdue, it's going to be the longest televised basketball game in the history of television.
How many over under on free throws for that game?
Yeah, Zach Edey is going to break Wilt Chamberlain's
65.5
record. Yeah.
Who even says we're going to get Purdue? What if TCU knocks them out? Come on, we're Big 12 guys.
I do have some thoughts on Purdue's, but we'll get into that.
Yeah. And my other thought is that we did also have a couple of Big 12 teams in our region. I think TCU and Texas. I don't know if there was another one. missing. So it's obviously tough to play Big 12 teams in the regular season, tough to play them in the tournament. So that'll
And
be
future Big 12 team. Oh, wait, never mind. Just kidding. Hold the phone. I was going to say Colorado, but it's Colorado State.
Yeah, I do want to point out that this bracket came out a mere hours ago, and it's hard to memorize.
I'm still getting familiar with this. This is why I didn't want to do a live one right after, because I have not still looked at this enough as of 10 o'clock Sunday night.
Yeah,
dove into this.
We are KCSA Pod,
Yeah.
raw and uncut.
I saw people posting about our first round matchup. I thought I was 100% convinced that people kept misspelling Stanford. I have never heard of Stanford in my life. And that's scary because that's the exact kind of team that can bury 33s against us in the first game. So overall, I think there is some reason to be hopeful, but the way we've finished out the season and the injury concerns, I don't know. I would not be surprised of the early exit this year.
We'll get into KU side of the bracket, of course. So just one quick nugget on that before we actually get into it. I'm a big proponent or believer in March Madness matchups tend to bring out what you did poorly in the season. So what kind of team does KU struggle against the most? The team that shoots lights out from three and shoots 50 times a game. Sanford is one of those teams. So, you kind of get what you deserve. KU has struggled to perform against a three-point shooting team all season, so they have to really hope that Sanford. Wow, I almost did it there. Stanford. That Sanford does not shoot lights out from three, considering that we average 3 made three-point field goal attempts a game. So not ideal there. But again, we'll get into that matchup. But yeah, as a whole, at first glance, the first time I looked at this, I didn't really have a lot of takes as far as I was like, all right, that's a pretty good region. Ooh, that one's kind of tough. But as I'm going back through this and looking at it more and more, there are plenty of times in years past where we have thought the NCAA committee as a whole of college basketball fans was like, what the heck are you guys doing? This is terrible. Obviously, as a KU fan last year, everyone's going to be still pissed off the fact that Houston gets the number 1 overall seed when our strength of schedule and all that was better. That's neither here nor there. But I actually kind of think this bracket as a whole is pretty well balanced. Usually there's that one side of the bracket for a 1 seed that just looks so heavily favorable. And even on UConn's side, San Diego State is a tough, gritty team. UConn could probably still get past them in a Sweet 16 matchup, but Auburn's a really tough 4 seed. Bruce Pearl is an incredible coach, and they perform well in March. BYU, if they just start lighting it up from 3, they could go deep. Iowa State's a really solid 2 seed, and I'm not saying I have that much belief in them because I'm a KU fan, but Iowa State is built to do this. They're a gritty defense. They can hold teams under 60 points. It's just a matter of if they can't shoot that night, can they hold up? And then Illinois is their 3 seed. I mean, that's a pretty strong bracket there, so that's not nothing easy. You go over to the south with Houston. Houston as the 1 seed. They've got a gritty Wisconsin James Madison matchup in round 1 that they could see in the Sweet 16. Duke's the 4 seed, which I mean, we hate Duke, but Duke as a 4 seed, I mean, that's probably underseeded for them. They've got a tough Texas Tech team in there, even as a 6 seed. Florida, a 7 seed is not bad. Marquette, the 2 seed. Marquette's hungry. I mean, I think Shaka Smart, as much as I hate him, can't say him as a coach. I think Marquette's going to be fired up. So maybe you say Houston's got the weakest bracket, but then Kentucky's the 3 seed. Kentucky can put 100 points up. They just give up 110 points. So, I mean, that could be an electric bracket. Then you go over to the West. North Carolina is the 1 seed. Arizona is the 2 seed. That would be a fun Elite 8 matchup, having those 2 teams square off. Caleb Love against his former team. Michigan State as a 9 seed. Probably, honestly, in my opinion, I don't think should have made the tournament as a 19 and 14. But they've got some good wins. Yeah. Or even, I don't remember if I saw it on here, but Oregon was another team that was back and forth on the Oregon made. Okay, never mind. But Michigan State, St. Mary's, that 5-12 matchup, St. Mary's, Grand Canyon, Tyon, Grant Foster, TGF, former Jayhawk. He's going to be going for 30 points that game. Sign me up. But Michigan State as a 9 seed in March, Izzo can go. He always seems to perform really well with his underseeded teams. Alabama is a 4 seed, Baylor the 3 seed. If Baylor can play consistently, they're dangerous. So I think that's a good bracket. And of course, KU's bracket. Purdue might be the most vulnerable 1 seed in my opinion. because outside of Edie, they've kind of been shown that in big games that they can struggle. But Tennessee, very, very solid 2 seed, was flirting with the 1 line all year. Can't use the 4 seed. Gonzaga, a pretty strong 5 seed. Creighton, another high-powered offense that's kind of built for March Madness. So yeah, as I look up and down the bracket as a whole, there's not really one area I look and go, dang man, that team just has the easiest path to a Final Four, or man, that team is really screwed. Now I think individually, outside of the 1 seeds, maybe there's a couple other teams that have a harder path that we can talk about. But yeah, I thought this was a fairly even bracket for the most part. But yeah, are there any, just right off the top, any matchups that really stand out to you guys day one that you're either super excited about or going, hey, watch out?
I was looking at a couple. Man, it's tough. I think I'm a little bit worried for FAU and Northwestern. It's a little bit out of the box to mention this one. I feel like a lot of people are gonna be like, "Oh, FAU, there they are," and we remember what they did last year, and we're gonna put them up. I'm looking at Northwestern as as a Sharpie to put them through at least to the next round. I've heard a lot of chatter that FAU is overseeded, and
yeah,
it's not
because
the same
they
team.
went deep last year. That's John L.
Yeah.
Davis is fantastic still. He's incredible, but
If it wasn't for that run, they wouldn't have the seed that they have. And I just look at that team like, man, lightning does not strike twice in the same spot. And I'm looking at Northwestern, and I am a guy from Chicago, so I'm rooting for Northwestern there. But I don't know, man. There's some spicy ones. You mentioned Wisconsin, James Madison. We've heard Wisconsin's hot right now. I mean, they just barely lost to Illinois in the Big Ten championship, but they've been on fire. And James Madison, super.
they're going to be a sexy pick for a deep run.
They are, and we all love the 5-12 matchups, right? We all love putting in at least 1 or 2 5-12 upsets every year. I think that's going to be a big one that people are looking at. I'm not so sure this year we're going to see something wild like a 15 over 2. We've seen that like 3 out of the last 4 or 5 tournaments or whatever it is. I'm pretty solid in our 2 seeds this year, so I really don't see that. I think a lot of the chaos is going to be toward the middle of the bracket.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it throughout the season that college basketball as a whole this year was just so much more competitive across the full landscape. I mean, I don't remember what the final total was, but top 25 teams on the road this year had a losing record. And I think that tells you, one, how much talent there is across the group now with NIL and guys sticking around developing. But yeah, I think typically in March Madness, you want to go, what's that big fun upset that's going to happen? And then this year, I think there's still going to be. We always know there's going to be something that happens. But you look at those middle, like 4 through 8 seeds, 4 through 10 kind of range. There's so many teams in there. They might not make a Final Four, but there are going to be some insanely good matchups, some 8-9 matchups, some 7-10 splits. The 5-12s I think are going to be a lot of fun this year. I think the competition level, I don't know how many major blowouts obviously the top dogs might have them, but I think it's going to be a much more competitive March Madness this year because the talent level across all of college basketball, not that it's level yet, but they're teams that you wouldn't normally think of being capable of performing in a tournament like this might show up. But yeah, Spencer, what stands out to you? Are there any 1 seeds that you feel like have a good chance of being upset earlier, a 2 seed that could get upset day 1, 3 seed? What kind of stands out to you with those big dogs in the bracket?
Well, it'd be hilarious to see Purdue lose to a 16 seed again. I don't think that's going to happen because I hope it does because I don't want to see Zach Edey shoot 40 free throws a game, but I don't think that's going to happen. I actually think there's a lot of potential in the 2 to 4 seeds. There's a lot of blue bloods and programs that have really outstanding freshmen and star players. I mean, you look at Duke with Jared McCain and Filipowski, who is still recovering from his injury from the court storming incident. Our prayers go out to him, obviously. And then you got Kentucky. Kentucky's got I'm blanking on one, but I know they have is it Reed Shepherd, the shooter.
Well, it's take your pick. It's Dillingham or Shepard. Which guy do you want that night?
Dillingham,
They just
exactly.
trade off.
So these seeds are, and then you got, I mean, Bama's a strong fourth seed with Grant Nelson. I mean, you got these,
Mark Sears.
Yeah,
he's got the guard play for March.
Right. So I mean, you got these 2 to 4 seeds that have NBA talent on their teams that can really equip them for deep runs. So I agree with JB. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of upsets in the higher seeds because I think they were pretty well placed. Tennessee I like a lot with Dalton Connect. I think he's got obviously the firepower to carry them through any offensive slumps that they go through. So I don't think this is going to be a year, like obviously when I'm filling out my bracket, I'm going to be looking at who's hot right now. I'm going to be looking at who's been consistent all year, but I don't know. I would not be shocked if this was a 3, 4, or 5 seed. No, probably not 5 seed, but 3 or 4 seed or something that ends up winning instead of one of the powerhouse ones. So I definitely look for some of those deep runs by those higher seeds between 2 and 4. But I actually agree with your point. I thought the committee actually did a decent job this year, and it just happens to be the year where we're nowhere near contention for a 1 seed, which kind of sucks. But yeah, and actually my 5-12 that I instantly saw was Grand Canyon St. Mary's. So
that looks like I think that's my favorite round 1 matchup of the whole tournament.
I think so.
Not just the KU connection with Tyon, but St. Mary's is always just a scrappy team. I remember a couple years ago with the Chet Holmgren year at Gonzaga. I was laying on the couch watching basketball late one night, and it was Gonzaga St. Mary's, and it was just so much fun watching St. Mary's just drag out a victory over that team. So yeah, they're always a fun watch. But yeah, Tyon Grant Foster, sign me up. The second it hits DraftKings, FanDuel, 20+ points, give me that. I want to see him explode. So I'll be all over that game.
I agree. But yeah, so overall, I think it's well balanced. There's a lot of talent, a lot of places in the tournament, and this is definitely going to be a challenging one to have a well done bracket this year is my guess.
I feel a lot of chalk with the 1 seeds in the first round. If I had to pick the two I'm keeping my eye on because I think it'll be a fun matchup. The Iowa State, South Dakota State. Iowa State is good. Don't get me wrong. They proved it this year. They had a weaker conference schedule than years past because they didn't play everybody. And they had a lot of home games, like Spencer mentioned on the podcast a couple of weeks back. But they're just very sound defensively and mechanics. They've got a good rotation, good role players. But how about the local kid Zeke Mayo? Running South Dakota State. I could see him going for a 30 burger and just willing this team. So I think that could be a fun one as a potential upset. And then I think I would love to see Marquette get dropped in the first round of Western Kentucky. So I think that would make a lot of people happy. That I think Shaka Smart. I mean, if you're outside of Marquette fans, how many people really like watching Marquette and Shaka Smart? I mean, you can't I cannot stand Fran Fraschilla, Shaka Smart, worst combo. Like if Fran was calling a game with Marquette, I couldn't do it. Both those guys are just so annoying. I mean, Jerome Tang's getting up there as far as most corny coach on the sideline. But Smart, man, I can't stand it. But yeah, those are the two I would look at. Outside of that, I can see Baylor dropping their first game to Colgate. Colgate always seems to play really well in the first game of the tournament. They like to slow it down, play aggressive, physical, and they can shoot threes. But if they're not hitting, then Baylor's got the talent to roll them. Kentucky would be kind of an interesting one. As solid as they are offensively, I mean they can't guard.
They can't guard.
Doesn't matter who it is. I'm not saying that they'll drop early because they could score 120. Yeah, man, I think this is a pretty solid bracket. Like I'm having a hard time going, who do I have coming out of that side? Like I think Illinois is a very strong 3 seed. They've got the type of team to run deep in March, but I mean, they got to go up against Iowa State. They've got BYU, Auburn, and of course UConn at the top there. But if you guys had to pick just off the top 1 to 2 seeds, let's go with 1 and 2s for a second. 1 seed most likely to either, I guess, which of the 1 seeds do you think is the last one standing?
UConn.
Yeah,
it's not hard. I mean, look, this is the year, if ever, for like a repeat. This is it. I mean, UConn is just phenomenal. I know Kansas beat them, but man, they just look unstoppable.
They're so
I
well
really,
balanced.
I really love UConn. As chalky as it is to put them as your national champion, you're not wrong, and it's not a bad pick if you say UConn.
Yeah, I think my confidence level would go UConn first, Houston 2, North Carolina 3, Purdue 4.
I agree.
But again, the way some of those matchups go, I wouldn't be surprised if any of them lost before the Elite Eight, especially maybe on Houston's side, because Houston's got a couple of teams in their bracket that just really light it up offensively. And we know Houston, as good defensively as they are, if they're not keeping up offensively and the defense isn't there, they just got blown out to Iowa State in Big 12. Now, again, a back-to-back-to-back days is a little different kind of talk, but I think they're vulnerable. Obviously, we've already said Purdue. I think Purdue's vulnerable in round of 32 against Utah State or TCU there. North Carolina, I think that North Carolina, Michigan State, I know I can't just chalk Michigan State right away as the upset over Mississippi State, but North Carolina, Michigan State in the round of 32, that's got me intrigued with Tom Izzo trying to prove that he's still capable. So I could see North Carolina bowing out early. I think that the West is kind of an interesting bracket because if North Carolina dropped early and, it's Arizona or Baylor loses early, you got Baylor or Arizona and Alabama going up against a couple other good teams. Let's do this. You guys want to jump to the KU side of the bracket or jump into overall predictions first?
All right, let's go KU.
KU bracket. Okay, so let's do that. KU, of course, the 4 seed in the Midwest. Let me run through this bracket for you guys. Purdue is the 1 at the top. They will be playing the winner of the play-in Montana State Grambling as the 16 seed. Utah State, the 8 seed against TCU, the 9. Gonzaga, the 5 seed. That might be one of the lowest seedings they've had in a while. Against McNeese State, the hot Will Wade team. The 12 seed who's coming in very hot at the end of the year. Of course, KU, the 4 seed against Samford, the 13 seed who also likes to shoot threes all day. South Carolina, kind of another intriguing team that's played really well here this year. This is the 6 seed. They go up against Oregon, who came out of nowhere to win the Pac-12 for the last time in the history of that conference, RIP. Then Creighton, a very strong 3 seed, plays against Akron. Texas, the 7 seed, gets the winner of Virginia, Colorado State play-in. And, of course, Tennessee at the bottom against St. Peter's. First glance there, fellas. Let's do that panel as a whole before we get into KU's little mini pod. Who are the teams that you think have the best chance to come out of there? Who are the teams that worry you the most that could potentially run into KU, or teams you're just looking forward to seeing in this bracket?
I know Tennessee is one of them. I know Spencer agrees. Tennessee is poised to come out of this bracket. They really are. We joked earlier about how Kansas has a shot if they can just get past Samford. They do, but with how poorly we've done on the road, I don't think I'm filling out my bracket that way. I think Tennessee and Creighton, if they can meet in that Sweet 16 matchup, is going to be a beautiful game to watch. And the winner of that game is probably who moves on, because by the end of that, you get to the Elite Eight and you're probably facing maybe Gonzaga if they got hot, but they've had a bad year. But again, this is March and they've been there, done that. They're a tremendous team every March. So I could see Gonzaga, I could see maybe even TCU makes a run. But that whole side of the bracket, I just don't feel confident in if it's not Kansas. I might just have a little bit of a smidge of hope if it's Kansas. But yeah, it's got to be either Tennessee or Creighton for me.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I'd say Tennessee. To me, that's where I'm going. I mean, Jay Wright just made his initial Final Four picks, and the only 1 seed that was not present was Purdue, and it was Tennessee instead. And Jay Wright definitely knows his ball. Yeah, and Creighton, I also think is a strong 3 seed. Now, here's the deal: if we have healthy Kevin McCullough and healthy Hunter Dickinson, I'm telling you guys right now, do not be surprised.
It's Final Four bust
if we can come and make a deep run. Now, again, that's a big if, because our own coach doesn't know where the health is of one of his players right now. So that's the thing to keep in mind. But I also wouldn't be surprised if, I mean, again, the Big 12 is the toughest conference in the country. So you get these lower seeds like Texas and TCU. Yeah, they're 8 and 9 seeds, but they had to play tougher competition all year. So don't be surprised if they make some deep runs there. I'm not as confident in Texas and TCU as I am in like Baylor or something like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they can pick up some games. But overall, I do think really out of all the regions, I think this one was a decent draw for KU outside of their first round matchup. Ironically, I don't like the 3-point firepower team. Gonzaga would scare me a little bit in the second round. You know, even though it's not been a year up to their standards, they're still well coached. They still have a winning culture, so that would also kind of frighten me a little bit. But overall, I think Tennessee's gonna make it through, and I don't think it's gonna be particularly challenging for them.
I think you could make an argument that the Midwest bracket might be the weakest of the four in the sense of KU's not playing full strength. Tennessee's coming off of a bad end to the season. Purdue, nationally, they were great all year, but nobody really has the postseason confidence.
No.
Creighton's a very good sneaky 3 seed. Gonzaga, I mean, yeah, it's an interesting bracket. I mean, this is the one that I could see the most potential, not necessarily upsets, but could see, you know, a higher seeded team, or I guess higher seeded team, larger number seeded team later in the bracket. So yeah, let's kind of look in a little bit more detail. But first, before we do that, just again, I want to shout out our new sponsor, Churchill Cigars. This is a cigar lounge over here in Topeka, Kansas. Shout out to them. They are one of the oldest old school style tobacco lounges in the area. Over 50 years experience in the industry. They've got a super cool upcoming event called the Spring Smokers event. I'll show you here on screen. They've got a great event coming up on May 18th, 2024. That's about 6 to 8 weeks away by the time you guys are starting to see this. Super cool event in the parking lot around where their building is located. It's a $100 ticket. That $100 has over $140 worth of value. You get 10 cigars as part of that $100 ticket package, 1 meal ticket to a food truck of your choice that'll be on site, 2 free drink tickets. Well, I guess 2 drink tickets as part of this package to a couple of their beer vendors. It's going to be a fun day from about 12 to 5 to hang out at a great cigar lounge, watch college. Well, by then college basketball will be over, but great place to hang around, chat with guys, smoke some great cigars, meet some of the top industry leaders in the market around the area from some of their top brands, live music, food trucks, local breweries. They will have hourly raffles and grand prizes all day. If you want to get tickets, you can go physically to Churchill's in Topeka and purchase a ticket. You can also call them at 785-272-0102 for tickets. Just please make sure you mention the podcast. So when you go buy your ticket, mention KCSA Pod. So again, Churchill's of Topeka, they are celebrating 3 years at their new location with their first ever multi-vendor event, the Spring Smoker event, featuring some of their top labels and brands: Drew Estates, Rocky Patel, La Aurora, Ashton, Espinoza, Christoph, and Altadis Cigars. Join them for big deals on cigars, great food from local food trucks, featuring City's Edge Competition Barbecue, among others. Local brews from Blind Tiger, which if you haven't checked out Blind Tiger, another great restaurant in Topeka, and live music. They will have big deals on cigars from each company that I've mentioned before, and plenty of giveaways and prizes all day. Meet with local industry leaders as well as company owners from some of those top brands. So again, great opportunity to go check out a fun cigar lounge, a great place to just have a good time, smoke a few nice cigars, and just enjoy some good company. So go check them out. Again, thank you to Churchill's. They will be with us throughout all of the NCAA tournament, sponsoring us and helping us out. And we are looking forward to sending many of you guys their direction. So again, go check them out over in Topeka. That is the Churchill Cigar Lounge of Topeka, Kansas.
Yes, sir.
All right. As we look at more into this bracket, KU draws Samford as the 13 seed. We're going to dive into this matchup more details later in the week, but Samford, a team that was one of the few, if you've watched other podcasts and listened out, Samford was one of those types of teams that as a KU fan, you were a little worried about because of how much they shoot the three. They're a team that could get up 25 threes in a flurry. And we know KU is a team that can barely get to 10 if they're not forcing it. So that'll be a fun matchup. But yeah, KU's got an interesting little pod there. They'll be playing Thursday night. Tip-off is set for 8:55 local time here in Kansas. If it starts on time, they're playing out in Salt Lake City. But in that pod, they've also got that 5-12 matchup of Gonzaga and McNeese State. Again, McNeese State kind of being the hot team this year. I think they're going to be a team that a lot of people have as a heavy Cinderella favorite because of just the way Will Wade comes back from LSU, takes on a team that isn't really known to be a top in college basketball team, finds themselves in the tournament, is going to be the darling of the NCAA tournament this year, in my opinion. So that'll have a lot of eyeballs on it. But what do you guys think of this little 4-team pod? I think there's a lot of I wouldn't be shocked if one of those teams, finds themselves in an Elite Eight appearance and upsetting Purdue. But tell me what you guys think about this little group here.
You're just mentioning McNeese, and I think the popular opinion is if they can get past Gonzaga, even if Kansas gets past Samford, McNeese is another team that can just light us up, and
same
they
kind of
can
team.
move on. It's just when you look at it, it's like, man, if KU can just defend the three, we'll be great. We'll be fine. But we haven't been able to defend the three all season long. So really, I'm excited for them. I think there's a lot of good storylines here, but I think that's definitely a Sweet 16 sleeper that, or maybe even not a sleeper that people are, keying into. And then, man, I'm a Big 12 homer, but I just can't get past TCU. Man, I just hope they wipe the floor with Utah State. I just know they will. And they're probably
we need to. The Big 12 has the most teams, or tied for the most teams in the tournament with 8. Oklahoma was left out. I think there was another team that had a good chance, but I think if Oregon had not won the Pac-12, there's a chance that Oklahoma's in, Oregon was out. But 8 teams, we got to go more than 4-4. I mean, we got to go 6-2, 7-1 first weekend as a conference to really claim that this year was not a joke, because we say this every year that the Big 12 is one of the best college basketball conferences, if not the best. NCAA tournament comes around and then we struggle, and teams that should win drop. So Baylor, you got to do your thing. Don't drop to a 14 seed again like you have in the past. TCU show up. But quick nugget on the Big 12 there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of where my head's at. I mean, I think if any region is going to have a deep run by a higher seed, it'd probably be the Midwest. Because, I mean, whether or not you want to call it the weakest or the most well-balanced, quote unquote, I think it wouldn't be surprised if a team like McNeese or Samford makes a deep run, obviously, both of which would be at the expense of KU inevitably. So that would be not preferred. But again, I do think there are some top matchups, and I know we're kind of discounting Purdue because they've had a tendency to choke in the past, but
is this their year?
I wouldn't say it's their year. I think it's their year not to lose in the second round. I just think at a certain point, you have to make adjustments in years past. They have to be watching film in these past few years and saying, okay, what are we doing wrong? What's leading to these defeats, these early defeats? So I think if Purdue can make adjustments, that might squash any big runs by the lower seeds by the time they get there. So, but overall, a lot of potential for those kind of storylines there, like JB mentioned.
What do you guys think? Again, we'll get into the matchup with Samford itself later in the week, but what do you think has to go right for Kansas to have a deep run, and what does that path look like for them to get to a Final Four?
I think we got to be fully healthy. First and foremost, we have to have Kevin back. The up and down of his injury is just really frustrating for Kansas fans, because we've seen him play on again, off again, on again, off again. And it's like, man, just play. It's like, how hurt can you really be? I hate to sound like a jerk, but there's a faction of KU fans that are like, we think it's all mental, and maybe he just needs to suck it up, and it's a pain tolerance thing, and he's soft if he can't go. That's been one of the narratives. And so I think the fact that it's March, man, we have to see him. I think we'll see him, and I think Hunter will come back. We've had more rest than we probably would have hoped for. but we still got the 4 seed, and it's just time to do work. So it starts with our health. But then, yeah, second thing is we need to find everyone on the team needs to find their identity again. We've talked in past podcasts about how Johnny Furphy was a guy that was super, super hot for a while, and then he just has gone ice cold. DeJuan has to be more aggressive with his 3-point shot. He's got a great percentage, but he's just got to take them. I've seen so many times where he gets a beautiful screen, and he's just being his defenders being held back by Hunter or by KJ, and yet he just still refuses to shoot. We need aggressive DeJuan. We need everyone to lock in.
Yeah, I mean, health is the first and foremost the biggest issue. I think aside from that, we have to be able to guard the 3. I think we have to be able to put up more than 3 made field goals, 3-point field goals, I should say. I think spacing needs to be fixed. I think we have to figure out a way to get Hunter in rhythm early. We have to find a way for him to catch the ball in good position in the post and have the entire defense collapse because nobody respects any of the shooters on our team. And I do think the role players need to step up, and they do need to find an identity. Somebody needs to, whether it's Timberlake, whether it's Elmarco, whether it's Furphy coming back, adding a little bit more consistency back. DeJuan needs to be aggressive. KJ needs to, I'd say KJ needs to find his way through the offense and find a way to be a slightly better rebounder than he's been historically, because I think offensive rebounds are going to kill us. And especially if you have any of these teams that play big stretch 4s and stretch 5s, it takes Hunter out of the paint. We're going to be kind of vulnerable letting up some offensive rebounds there. And offensive rebounds kill you in March, as do turnovers, as do allowed 3s, which unfortunately we haven't done a great job with on any front this season. But like I said, I mean, we've beaten elite teams, so I think we can beat any team in the country. But it starts with those factors there. And if we don't do those well, it's going to be Cancun season very early.
Yeah. The 3 main things I want to see, first off, team chemistry, both offense and defense. We haven't been at full capacity in a couple weeks in all reality outside of that K-State game, which of course that's a home game. So we knew it was going to go the way it did. So definitely want to see how the chemistry looks with Hunter and Kevin back on the floor. Second thing, I would just love to see some shots fall. This team, I can't even count how many easy buckets they've missed as a layup or a ball that's been halfway down, bounce back out. Some of it's just been bad luck. So I would just love to see some shots fall, from easy shots, some 3-pointers fall. And then thirdly, if more guys play with the energy and the excitement that KJ has, KJ, I mean, every single play, he is fired up, make or miss. He brings so much energy in, and we can sit here and be upset that maybe the spacing isn't right with him and Hunter, or wish KJ had a better jumper. But the guy goes out there and plays his tail off, and that's what you need in college basketball. That's what every coach desires. And he's really the only guy you see that passion and energy from. I think we saw some with Jamari McDowell last week, a little bit in the Houston game there, but nobody really, I mean, DeJuan's not the most emotional guy. He's not wearing his emotions on his sleeve, but guys got to just show that passion and energy. And it can't just be when they hit a big bucket. It's got to be when they get a good stop. They've just got to play energetic and passionate and look like they're having fun. I mean, I've said that multiple times this year, that when we look like we're playing poorly, it's just like the guys don't look like they're enjoying being out there outside of KJ. So I'm looking to that, and I think if we bring that energy and that cohesion as a unit again and get back to what we know we're capable of doing, yeah, you said it. You guys both have said it. We can compete against the top teams in the country. We just gotta show up, play our game of basketball, stay focused, stay disciplined, and then we find ourselves deep in a tournament run. I'm trying to see where I want to go with this here. So JB, you got a thought?
I was just going to say, last little piece to the formula of a national championship this year, which is still possible, but we absolutely need Nicholas Timberlake to turn into Remy Martin, to turn into Malik Newman. He is the guy that has the best chance at being Mr. March, at least off the bench, and it's going to happen. I don't know. I don't know why.
So yeah, I'd rather see that be Furphy. Furphy needs to go, 2 to 3 threes a game. And I said this after the Houston game. I'm done with Timberlake. I don't care what he does. I'm done. I would rather see Elmarco's athleticism and aggressiveness. Even though Marco has not played great, I thought he showed a little bit more the other night. And I think he's more likely to go get a bucket than Timberlake is. And I think sometimes the March is way. Now, I'm not saying I have confidence in El Marco to do that either. But if I had to pick, Furphy's got to be that third guy to go get. I mean, I think KJ is going to do just fine. But Furphy's they got to find ways to get him active and early. And I have more trust and faith that Furphy's shot will come back than Timberlake's going to have an impact.
Same here, but just don't say I told you so whenever,
Hey, I hope I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, that means KU is doing good.
Tim B's going to hit the game winner against Samford.
That'd be so great.
We're going to beat Samford, and it's because of Timberlake, and then you're going to be coming on the next podcast like, I am sorry, JP, for downing you.
But yeah, KU's got a tough path. Even, if they get by Samford in the first round, they've got another feisty team in McNeese State or a very solid team in Gonzaga. Then from there, you're potentially looking at Purdue, Utah State, TCU. And then on the bottom half, you still got Tennessee, Texas, who's, maybe a weak team as a 7 seed, but they're still talented. Oregon, an interesting 11 seed, South Carolina. There's a lot of good talent. I think Creighton's early on, I think Creighton's my pick so far to possibly come out of this bracket. So let's kind of, as we wrap up here, let's go through each side of the bracket again. Let's do Elite 8 matchup. Your pick out of that to make the Final Four. We'll make the predictions of KU's bracket, and then just a quick overall Final Four prediction. So let's go back up to the East with UConn as the 1 seed. As I look at this bracket, I'm gonna say UConn, Illinois in the Elite 8. Man, I kind of like Auburn though. I said UConn's just too good. UConn, Illinois in the Elite 8. UConn makes it back to a second Final Four in a row.
Okay. Are we going region by region?
Let's go each region and So whoever's next in the East. I really do like I said, I do like Auburn a lot. Just UConn, that's hard to pass up on. If Auburn was the 3 seed on the bottom half, then I'd feel much better about it.
So when the bracket was first revealed, I sent out a text saying Iowa State has the easiest path to an Elite 8. I'm just looking at their bracket, and I love it. I hear what you're saying about Illinois. Illinois, I just don't fully believe in. I don't really have the best reasons, but I guess my reasoning really would be historical data. They've fallen short. They've kind of Purdue'd themselves, just like Purdue would. So I've kind of fallen off the Illinois train just a little bit. And Iowa State, they could potentially be facing BYU, a familiar opponent. And, I just think they have an easy path to get to the Elite 8. It's going to be against UConn, and UConn's going to end their ride.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't know this bracket well enough to do Elite 8 matchups. I just don't. I will say it doesn't matter who the matchup is. I think UConn's going to come out of the region.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Because again, I like BYU as a 6 seed there if they get hot. It's just UConn. They're just the most complete team in my opinion. Even when Donovan Klingen's not doing a lot, they've just got 8 guys that can score on you. So yeah, I like that. But all right, let's go down to the West with North Carolina as the 1 seed there. This is the one I keep going back and forth on. I said this on a podcast 1 or 2 weeks ago, and I don't know if I'm going to stick to it necessarily right here, but Michigan State as a 9 seed, I could see them in the Elite 8. I could see them beat North Carolina. They're a stingy defense. If RJ Davis isn't going, you could slow down North Carolina. So I kind of want to say Michigan State because I think they could get through a couple of games there. On the bottom half, I think I still feel the most confident in Arizona out of that group. So let's this will be my first big upset bracket. So I'm going to have Michigan State and Arizona in the Elite 8 and Michigan State as a 9 seed. Tom Izzo gets back to the Final Four.
No way. Okay.
I know it sounds crazy, but Izzo in March is pretty solid, and he always does well when his team is a lower seed. I don't have the data to prove that at this moment, but from recent memory, just thinking back, when they are a lower seed, they are feisty and they surprise you. Now, obviously, if they don't get past North Carolina, then yeah, this is a completely different bracket. But I think that could be an interesting upset in round 2.
I'm going to show faith. I'm going to show faith in a team that you both of you haven't mentioned any faith in at all this entire recording, and that's Baylor. Scott Drew and the Baylor Bears, man. I see them going back to the Final Four. I think they're actually going to face North Carolina. I like North Carolina this year. I know they've kind of stumbled a little bit. And there was an argument for them to be on the 2 line, but man, I think back to a few years back when Virginia won their national title the previous year. They lost to a 16 seed, and it was the first time that a 1 had ever lost to a 16, and it was beautiful. And my head, I was like, the poetic justice of having Virginia come full circle and beat everybody and win the title the next year. How funny would that be? Well, I won my bracket challenge that year because of that decision, and I'm kind of thinking look, North Carolina, man, I don't know. I just feel like they're gonna hit some good strides. I don't think Arizona gets there. I've never really fully believed in Arizona. I think Baylor can take them. Caleb Love is gonna screw things over, and I just think
4 of 23 from the floor.
Yeah, I mean Baylor has been battle tested, and I just believe in them. And I'm a Big 12 homer, but I've got North Carolina, Baylor, and Baylor going to the Final Four.
I'm going to be a little bit different. I'm going to do Arizona, North Carolina, and I'm actually going to do Arizona coming out on top. And Caleb Love beating his old team. I think this North Carolina team is good. Armando Bacot is a bona fide. Yeah, Bacot is a bona fide star. I agree that Tom Izzo does well with underseeded teams. I don't know how well he does with 14 lost teams. That's my only concern. But yeah, I'm going the Wildcats, which I picked Arizona in the past to go far. They were my national champions 2 years ago, and they lost in the round of 32.
They just always disappoint early, which is why I'm shocked I picked them to go to the Elite Eight. But
yeah.
All right, let's go up to the South, over to the South bracket with Houston.
Ooh.
Houston's probably still the team I trust the most. This is the one, though, there's so many. I want to pick the James Madison upset so badly over Duke in the Sweet 16 and then over Houston. But Houston man, they're so solid. Kentucky's going to be a team I think a lot of people are really interested in because of how highly efficient they are scoring the ball. But, man, that defense, Marquette, when hot. This is one of my – I don't really like where they are in the bracket, but Colorado is a very intriguing team. I've watched a little bit of them this year, and they've got a couple good guys. Obviously, they got Eddie Lampkin from TCU, who's had a big year for them. Tristan Da Silva, and then the Oklahoma City Thunder star Jalen Williams, his younger brother Cody Williams, plays for them.
Well, you said Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado. Colorado's one I'm interested in. They're the 10 seed. Well, they're in the play-in game, so they got to win the play-in game against Boise as the 10 seed. But then they'd have to upset Marquette. So I guess I'm going to go Elite Eight here.
Oh, I thought you said it was Colorado State earlier.
Colorado State's in our bracket. That's where I messed up. But I'm still going to go Houston in the Elite Eight. They're just too efficient. I'm going to go Houston, Kentucky. I think Kentucky, as much as their defense struggles, they've got enough offense that they can get a good lead and just keep pushing. So I'll go Houston, Kentucky in the Elite Eight. I'll still go Houston Final Four.
Okay, I hate this. All right, Houston. I love Houston, and I think if they had won the Big 12 tournament, I think I would have said they'd ride all the way to the Final Four. But they didn't, and they've shown vulnerability, albeit just a little bit. But I don't know. It's scary to me, and in the favor of not picking all 1 seeds, I'm going to say that they probably lose. More likely in the Sweet 16. And I've actually got an interesting run for my Final Four pick. We didn't talk about them all podcast. The Duke Blue Devils. Man, here's the deal. Look, if they can get past Vermont, they can get past Vermont easy. Whether it's James Madison or Wisconsin, I think Duke is gonna show why they are Duke, and they're gonna win. I think they can even get past Houston. Houston, is again just a little bit vulnerable at times, as they've shown against Iowa State. So if Duke can get all the way to the Elite Eight, I think they pull it out. I mean, Kentucky, I can see them losing earlier, maybe the Sweet 16 or even round of 32, because they could lose to Texas Tech. Kentucky can't guard. Texas Tech, they have a chance at making it to the Final Four, but because I don't want to put all Big 12 teams there, and I don't want to pick Houston, I might just pick Duke over them. So my my Elite Eight is Duke over Texas Tech and Duke going to the Final Four, as much as I hate it.
Okay.
That's not bad. Yeah, I'm actually flipping Keegan's. I'm going Houston, Kentucky, and I'm going to have Kentucky on the upset. I think they have really I think they have some really dynamic scores. I think they have some NBA talent. And Houston, man, if their offense just isn't clicking, I think they're a great defensive team. But if their offense isn't clicking, it just takes one off night. And again, I'm trying not to go chalk here, and I need to look at this bracket more than a couple hours as well. But I do like Kentucky going into this. I actually do like Duke going into this too. I think they're a better team than they appear. And that's one of the other reasons I have actually some faith in Carolina, because they swept Duke in the regular season, which I thought was more impressive than people give them credit for. So I'm going with Houston, Kentucky moving on.
Yeah, the Kentucky one wouldn't surprise me either, because they've got 3 different guys that could go off for 30
plus.
It's unlikely that all 3 of them struggle at the same time. Whereas some of these other teams like Houston, if Jamal Shedd's not doing well, LJ Cryer can go off, but if Jamal Shedd's not doing anything offensively, it's harder for them to put up, 60 points. Yeah. Whereas, Kentucky can put up 60 in a blink, and Duke is dynamic enough across multiple positions to do that. So I do kind of like that. And I feel bad that I hadn't even mentioned it, because I hate their coach so much. But I'm not going to lie. Like 6 weeks ago, I was looking at it, and I had my Final Four was UConn at the time before brackets was UConn, Houston, Marquette, Tennessee. And Marquette's still sitting there, the 2 seed. I do think they have a relatively easier path, just the way they play. They could easily get to the Sweet 16, no problem, before they face a team like Kentucky. So I think they still need to have some attention there, because they are one of the better KenPom teams in the country. They're top I think they're top 25 in both. I might be wrong on that. Don't quote me. But they're a top 10 overall team on KenPom. And KenPom teams typically, the higher the rank the KenPom team, the more likely they are to a Final Four.
Between Marquette and Houston, only one of them can make it, though.
True. Yeah, I know. Yeah, in this scenario, this would be obviously before bracketology, back when Tennessee would have been a 1 seed and Marquette would have been a 1 seed at that time, because they did not have North Carolina finishing as a 1 seed.
But Shaka.
All right, let's go to our final one, the KU bracket, of course. How far do we have KU going realistically? Obviously, we'll talk about Samford later in the week. I'm still up in the air. I see the path for a Kansas Final Four. I have concerns. I think they will struggle much more this time against Tennessee, if that's the matchup. I also think Gonzaga is a hard matchup, and Creighton is really good. So I want to say Creighton, Kansas in the Elite Eight.
Wow.
And Creighton moves on. I don't have faith in Purdue. I don't have faith in Gonzaga or TCU. So I'm still talking myself into a KU Elite 8 game against Creighton, but I think Creighton, gosh dang, I hate this.
It sucks. And this is the worst year. I've been gassing up Kansas. I've been Mr. Optimist this entire time.
Kansas, Tennessee, Elite 8. Tennessee's going to the Final Four.
Okay. Tennessee, Kansas. Wow.
Tennessee, Creighton in the Sweet 16 for an epic battle, but Dalton Knecht goes for 35, and Tennessee moves on.
I'm going to side with you on Tennessee. I've got them in my quick bracket that I pulled up and did right before the pod. I've got Gonzaga against them. I don't believe in them either, but I believe that they can make a run, because especially if they don't have to go through Kansas, they're going to be playing smaller teams. It's still Gonzaga. I think they can do great. This is Tennessee's bracket, and I actually put Kansas losing to Samford in the bracket as I was filling it out. So I've been gassing Kansas up this entire time. I know, but this isn't my final bracket. We'll see if that changes, but you got to think if they get past Sanford, they might even lose the next game because it might be Gonzaga or McNeese State. That's what I think makes most sense, really. I think if I really boil it down, they can probably get past Sanford, but they might not get past their next game, regardless of their opponent.
So
Yeah,
you said you have Tennessee Gonzaga?
I have Tennessee Gonzaga with Tennessee going to the Final Four.
yeah. I mean, I'll keep the Tennessee trend alive here, but I
Let's
think
go.
I think it's going to be a little bit more chalk in this reason. I'm doing Tennessee Purdue. I think
Okay.
Purdue shakes off the cobwebs, makes adjustments from previous years. I think Zach Edey continues his trend of getting to the free throw line, and we're going to see that, especially in March. It's going to depend on a lot on, and this might sound crazy, it's going to depend on the officiating. If they're going to call it tight, if they're going to swallow their whistle, that's going to be a very big determining factor of how far Purdue goes. But yeah, I do think Purdue Tennessee is going to be the end, and then Tennessee's coming out.
I do really want to see the KU Purdue matchup because I want to see, obviously Hunter's played Edey before, but I want to see that in a Kansas uniform, and I want to see KJ go up and block him too, which would be fun because of his athleticism. But yeah, none of us have KU in the Final Four as of now. We got multiple days to talk ourselves into it. We've also got multiple days to talk ourselves out of Tennessee. Rick Barnes has struggled in the tournament.
That's true.
But I like it there. So now we go to our Final Four picks here. I had I said UConn, Michigan State. I've got UConn the national championship. And then on the other side, I have Houston, Tennessee. UConn, Houston is my national championship pick.
Chalk.
Chalk. Yeah. So UConn takes on Houston in the national championship.
I think that's fair. Mine is a 1, 2, 3, and 4. UConn the 1, Tennessee the 2, Baylor the 3, Duke the 4. UConn and Baylor. I've got UConn getting past them. I've got Tennessee over Duke. UConn over Tennessee in the national title, and they repeat. We've seen crazier things happen than a repeat champion. So, and this is UConn's year, in my opinion.
Yeah, they just had their year. As a 4 seed.
Again, I know.
Yeah. Even though they were a top 5 KenPom team last year, but we're a 4 seed.
This UConn, let me clarify, this UConn team, you know what this feels like? It feels like the 2020 KU team that never got a shot.
True.
Yeah, I'm taking UConn over Kentucky in the first side, and then I will also have Tennessee progress.
Kentucky's on the South. UConn can't. You mean Arizona?
Arizona, yeah.
UConn over Arizona, yeah.
Again, yeah, I don't have this bracket memorized at all. Yeah, I'm thinking UConn, Tennessee as well, and part of me really wants to pick Tennessee, but I'm again. I have some time to talk myself into these decisions, but I'm going UConn back to back. I think they're just too good of a team, which is crazy because again, the fact that we beat that team is mind-boggling to me. So I don't know if this is more about UConn.
Allen Fieldhouse is a magical place.
That is true. Unfortunately, I wish we could play every tournament game in Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah. I don't know how BYU did it, but it is a magical place.
Yeah.
Man, all right, we go unanimous across the group as UConn goes back to back. How about this as we wrap up? How about another random team that you can see yourselves looking at the bracket going, man, this is not as high of a seed as I would have projected, but a team that you think could run away with a six game stretch and find themselves cutting down the nets. For me, I'm
that's like four
seed
or less or what?
I'd say anybody outside of a 1 seed.
Oh, well,
the team outside of a 1 seed that you feel the most confident could navigate their way based on what we know so far.
You know what? People don't believe in them, but Iowa State, man, I'm just going to say it. Iowa State loses early all the time. They've been to only a very small handful of Elite Eights. Historically, they haven't been that good. I'm going to bank on history not repeating itself this time. I can easily see Iowa State in the Final Four, especially if UConn were to somehow lose early to like Northwestern or Auburn. I mean, Auburn would be the other one, if not Iowa State.
Auburn's comes out of my pick. I like
Yeah.
Auburn a lot. That's the one I could easily see going on a deep run.
Yeah, I like Auburn. I also like Creighton, and then Illinois. I think
Yeah.
is
Those were my three I was gonna say. All
yeah.
three of those.
Yeah, yeah. I think those are definitely a few teams. And then again, I'm going to go back to Grand Canyon, man. I think they are fan 30-4 on the season, and
That's big.
they got a star in Tyon Grant Foster, so they're going to be the 5 seed to look out for.
Yeah, when we do our KU Sanford predictions, we'll have to come into that with a couple upset type games. The 12-5, 6-11, anything there. We'll have to do a couple upsets. But yeah, let's kind of wrap things up there because this has already gone way longer than we had planned because there's just so much to get into. I know that. But again, March Madness is here, so please take a moment. Whether you're watching this later or if you've been checking us out already, go join our bracket challenge. It is free. The link will be posted here below. Free. Everyone loves free. It'll be posted here below in the links in the comment section here and in the description of this video, as well as across all of our social medias. Again, at KCSA Pod, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. $100 to the winner to Rally House in the form of a gift card to purchase the team attire of the team you root for. You will also be eligible for weekly prize giveaways each weekend of the tournament, which those will be done on all of our social media platforms. So you want to make sure you are following us there. Again, $100 winner gift card to Rally House. It is free to play, free to sign up. Go fill out your bracket the next couple days. Send a link to 5 of your friends. Get them involved. We want to see a bunch of guys and girls, people into this bracket challenge. Where I think we're at the time of this, we're getting there. We got a long ways to go to get to our goal, but we'd love to see you guys join us for that. Could be a lot of fun. Make sure you're checking us out again. All of our social medias at KCSA Pod. Again, free bracket challenge. Winner gets $100 gift card to Rally House. Don't waste any time. Go do that now. All sorts of fun stuff coming up this week. Again, we want to shout out our new sponsor, Churchill Cigar Lounge of Topeka, Kansas. So grateful to have them on board with us over the next few weeks. We'll be doing a lot of fun things on behalf of them. They have some items that will be given away in some of our weekend giveaways. Again, they've also got their upcoming spring smoker event that I've got here on the screen. Again, you can buy tickets for $100, over $140 in total value at that $100 price. Cigars, meal tickets, drink tickets, cigar deals throughout the day across all the stuff going on over there, live music, food trucks, local breweries. Again, they will have hourly raffles and prizes throughout the day. $100 ticket. How do you purchase your tickets? You can go purchase them at Churchill's on site in Topeka. You can also call them at 785-272-0102 to purchase your ticket. Just make sure when you do head over to see them to get that ticket, you mentioned the podcast. So tell them that you heard about them over here on the KC Sports Authority podcast, KCSA Pod. Let them know about that. If you've been hanging out all night with us or the duration of this podcast, thank you so much. Again, hit that like and subscribe button. We're on our way to 500. Would love to get to 500 subscribers before March Madness ends. We just surpassed 400 a couple days ago. And your guys' support means the world to us. We're having so much fun kind of living out part of our dreams here and talking about sports for fun and sharing it with all of you guys. So hit that like and subscribe button, share it with friends. You can also find us on Spotify. You can follow the podcast over there. Again, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, X, at KCSA Pod. We'll have all sorts of stuff going all week, so make sure you're checking us out. Hit that like, retweet button all the time. Would love to continue to see the support coming. Again, later this week, we will have Samford talk, KU Samford. We've also got a Chiefs episode out right now talking some of the free agency stuff. A Royals podcast talking about the upcoming season as they are coming up here really quick for their home opener. So a lot of stuff going on. So make sure you're staying up to date on all of it. Check us out, like, subscribe, all that good jazz. But until later in the week, guys, this has been fun. And we look forward to the madness that March will bring. And can't wait to see my bracket busted as soon as games start. But any final thoughts from you guys?
No.
I don't think so.
All right. Well, then, guys, we will catch you later this week. Go check us out.